Welcome to BleedTV, the only podcast for today's best shows and movies. I'm Zach.
And I'm Cash.
And we're down a man tonight.
And we've actually nicknamed him Carl, I think, for the rest of the season.
Old bro decided to do some handiwork and somehow got something shot into his eye. And now, in the process of rubbing it, has cut his lens?
Yeah.
Or a third of his lens, part of it off?
Something like that.
And they had to put this corrected. He borderline looks like a walker.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the eyes of a walker and everything. He might be the new poster.
So, unfortunately, he is down with the medical attention tonight. We called him a wuss and, pansy as much as we could, but it made no effect.
No, he lived up to that title happily.
Yeah.
And is resting up.
But we're gonna try to be strong for him and muscle through this episode, which I dare say characterization is...
I mean, that could have been the reason for the eye injury.
Could have been. It could have been. He could have been rubbing his eyes in disbelief of some of the things that happened in this episode. This was Season 8, Episode 12, called The Key. This was directed by Nick Cotero.
The one and only.
And if you had to rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you go with this one, okay?
Man, on the drive over here, that was probably about 20 minutes of my thinking was trying to answer this question. And all I could get to was like, is it over? I mean, I couldn't think of a rating or anything because it wasn't good or bad. It just wasn't believable or anything.
I put it on Facebook that this episode had such great potential.
There's a lot of cool things they were trying to do with it.
There were some really... Well, here's the thing. There were some things that looked so cool that they took the extra time and effort to do. They actually followed through with some things that were actually realistic this time. They haven't done in the past. There was some good setups. There was some good writing in very small, minute doses here and there. The overall writing was atrocious. Some of the characters, what they were doing was good. Some of the stuff out of left field, I am just... You want to be intrigued, but then they're doing stuff in the background of the scene that just makes you go, "What in the fuck?"
Yeah, you can't
you can't even focus on it because it's the elephant in the room, or multiple. Yeah. And so, to me, I hate to say that this was like a 5 at best because less than half of it was good, but I was excited to see some new things that they've done, which this season has done, bridged the whole. Let's do some interesting, innovative things.
Yes. There's been at least one thing every episode. There's always been one cool walker death or just one cool walker.
Something different, that they haven't recycled as much. Because this entire season feels like a ton of recycling when it comes to character development and everything else. But to get into the episode itself, it starts off with Negan and Simon close-up faces, and these are the only two. And so obviously they're showing you the visual of dissension in the ranks.
Yes.
These are your two primary characters. You just don't, what you think of. This is the balance of power as opposed to shift. How are things supposed to go? And blah blah blah.
And immediately it just felt like, okay, Simon's getting ready to double cross us.
Exactly. You can definitely tell that since he's argued with Negan, he's come up with his own ideas. He's killed all these people. Didn't tell anybody. So I mean, all that is coming to a head.
And does all of this feel believable coming from Simon? Because the breaking point of losing his satellite camp just really isn't cutting it for me.
I don't really think it's that. I think it's more of him losing faith in the process of that you have to continue to try to keep people alive and yet try to keep them in line.
Yeah.
To him, it's simpler just to say you can't act right and you mow them down and you move on to the next community and so on because they're doing fine the way they are. Okay. And if there's not an antagonist, then there is no issue. And so I respect what he's saying because the reality of it is that garbage pail people, they're no longer an issue because what issues they did cause, he took care of it.
Very true.
And so he doesn't care for this idea of going over there and just wounding people and letting them create their own panic and they're just going to cower down and fold. And I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, because Rick has shown that he's not going to cower at this point.
This is to the death.
Yeah.
Life is slavery versus the chance of freedom. that's repeated history.
Yeah,
we're going to continue to fight for history,
especially since he's lost Carl. So he is
exactly. So I think the mentality of the episode was one of the things I did care for. Is that mentalities made sense. Simon's mentality made sense. Dwight's mentality made sense. Negan has been continuing with his same mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Rick's mentality, has shifted of I'm okay, I'm not okay,
reckless, and
so on, until we're like one of the scenes I did really enjoy is that he sees them coming down the street with binoculars, and has to make the choice of hitting the horn to alert them they're coming,
mm-hmm.
or he sees an opportunity, and an opportunity that is very foolish in my mind.
Oh, highly foolish.
Like you're by yourself in a car.
Taking on his entire army.
Versus a caravan. Yes, this is a suicide mission of, if I kill him, I win this. And that's not the case. If Negan disappears, Simon is more the guy who will go in there just to...
But he doesn't necessarily know that Simon was the reason for it and everything.
He doesn't, but you can assume, based on prior action...
That Simon
is just as ruthless.
If not more ruthless.
Exactly. So, to me, his mentality makes sense for what he's doing, even though the soundness of it is...
Yes.
But then again, who's of sound mind when you just lost your child?
Probably no one.
So, that's what I say. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's one of the things I did appreciate about the episode. There was mentalities that were working good. I love that Dwight brought out the pack of smokes that had the cigarette, the ring still.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they brought some of that back. And because by not saying what it is and then using it later in the episode was a good connection.
And it was nice because that was one of the few times I appreciated what happened on previous episodes. That was a big highlight, and that thing was the cigarette pack and all of that good stuff.
One thing this episode did highlight to me, and I've kind of gone back and looked at a few other episodes, is that Daryl is not allowed to speak.
Man.
So far, I think this half season he's maybe said a paragraph of dialogue.
And that was all last episode.
This episode he's
chastising Tara.
Yeah, this episode it was a minor conversation with Rick at the gravesite.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Like you said, Tara had some, but even then those were short, abbreviated, command statements, very little, a lot of eye gazing and thinking.
Yes.
And before that, we're in the tunnel. There's just...
Most of his scenes have been quiet with music played over it or something.
And so I wonder if there's I'm waiting on that full Daryl episode. Because we used to always get at least one big Daryl episode, or if not, a couple of them every half season.
So do you think this is a foreshadowing of things to come?
I think we've got to have him as some kind of front runner of something soon.
Well, because we've got Negan's second in command kind of going rogue and everything. Daryl just got back from going rogue, but we know he's still not necessarily a full mind.
So I don't know. It was just kind of interesting to me. If you want to break this into parts, let's talk about Maggie stuff first. That's
okay,
the easiest thing
just to get it out of the way.
Right. Maggie and them, they're struggling for food. They're having to make hard decisions. Enid is, back and forth. Rick and Michonne showed up early in the episode, and not much conversation with that. Enid's now turned into
she's like
we gotta kill them.
What 13, 14-year-old girl at this point,
right?
Just murdered somebody, and then the love of her life. She's going through a rough time.
She is, but she's inconsistent. You know what I mean? She goes over to this community, Oceanside, to convince them to come help, and this, that, or so on. Ends up killing one of them, and is real broad-stroked of, if you kill me, this was going to happen, this was going to happen, da-da-da-da. She's very level-headed, did what I had to do, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then she comes back over here, and it's like, you don't trust him, shoot him. And she's never been that forceful.
No,
that far, far overlord, and that's where some of the fans we talked to over social media were like, Enid. That's the problem with the show. With a lot of things is that the characters make these giant leaps in personality changes.
Yes,
the greatest example, of course, is Morgan, who's gone.
He's gone up
50
and down,
different directions,
psycho.
back and forth of. clear to I can't kill people to I'm the Terminator to I'm losing my mind, clear again.
To Terminator to...
Yeah, I mean, it's...
I'm going to live by these simple code words and things like that. And
it's just... and so for Enid to have this, and I get when you have a traumatic situation that happens, but...
I mean, this is
not everybody turns into, bloodlust killer.
True, but I mean, I'm just looking at it, I wasn't as mad with it because I was like, she just found out this episode that Carl died.
Agreed, and I like the line of, he helped somebody and now he's dead.
Yeah. Oh man, I thought Michonne was going to whip out the katana.
I thought she might hit her with the sheath. Catch that tongue, heifer.
Yeah, man, she's going to come out Kill Bill and everything. Yeah.
So it was going.
But I mean, that was a great line and everything.
It was, and it was a proving a point. But he died doing the right thing, and
I'm alive doing the wrong thing.
Exactly. So I mean, that's what Michonne's thought is, and I think they conveyed that pretty well. Denai agree. I mean, the girl is on Black Panther. She's doing Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. She's going to be a part of some other stuff. We watched Black Panther. Just to throw a little bit of a review cap in there, I give it 7.5. I call it a middle of the road
really
Marvel movie. Nothing against it, but it was to me, it was too easy for the bad guy to get into power. I think it was too cliche to have the support group needed to come get power back. I think it was, I thought some of the, I really thought that some of the casting decisions were
stretches.
Yes. There's a CIA operative that does not match the repertoire of what he supposedly carried with him. Okay. It didn't make sense to me. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I just think they misfired. I think that's a character. I think they tried to be funny with too many characters.
And that is always going to be a problem.
And so I think the show went for the extra mile of having good humor, and I think they did about 90% of it really well. Some of it was unbelievable. Some of it was really far fetched to make a good laugh. And so the Rule of Cool kind of won some of that over. But I thought the final battle scene was not as eventful for the potential of it.
Marvel really struggles with the final battle scene.
It really does, because, you create something that's supposed to be over the top, but then how do you create something that's over the top for it to fight against and still keep it in the realm of reality?
Yeah, with a serious tone. There's a lot that they try to push into it, which is why they don't necessarily always pull them off. But
and again, it's the same situation is that the bad guy has a relation in the past. We've seen that.
They keep trying to pull the same trope.
2 or 3 Marvel movies in the past 5 or 6 years. There's some kind of similar reference. So, again, the problem with Black Panther is that there's 8-10 movies ahead of it
that are using the same. And especially
if it was the first one that wasn't using similar kind of tones and stuff like that, then that's a game changer.
Well, because the first Marvel movie started off kind of with Iron Man.
Right.
That was the big twist and everything. Thor with Loki and everything. That twist is played over and over.
Yeah,
again.
and don't get me wrong, it works.
Yes,
the Marvel Universe works for that. So I know we've got off on a tear here because of Deny, but I just I put that out there for a lot of people, and there's a ton of people out there saying it's the best Marvel movie ever, and I think it's a lot of hype. I think it's wonderful what they've accomplished in that movie, because realistically, if you look at the cast of characters, none of them are considered the over-the-top A-listers. It is a good collection of quality actors.
Well, that and Coogler's just a fantastic director.
Right. And I think something about the show that a lot of people really enjoy is that it was culturally relevant and appealing.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Good comedy.
And it brought people together, which is what these movies and stuff are supposed to do.
The only thing about it, again, going back to it, is that they went really far on that side of it, and it's hard to make you feel like that's truly realistic or close to realistic when you don't feel like it's as plausible in comparison to like an Iron Man, where you have the billionaire genius who creates all this mad science, stuff like that, and compared to, you know, what you're getting, or, you know, like you said, you have a Thor that is a mystical god, or you have different things. This is...
Whereas Black Panther kind of tries to meld both worlds with mysticism and just...
Yeah, you know... I mean, one person got on there and was talking about how it's like somebody who has a voodoo to create themselves stronger, you know, or a, you know, like they said, like the magic flower or whatever, you know. So, like I said, I don't want to give details about the movie itself. I don't want to be spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Or, you know, I'm just saying that, you know, and that's not even spoilery, but I think the movie had the really hard time of creating the background of everything in a short amount of time. And unfortunately, that's what hurt developing the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then for it to end like it did, what I thought was abruptly, is what it hurt. I dare I say it needed 30 more minutes to make the villain more of a villain.
Very odd when you're trying to add time to movies in this point in time,
to me,
especially from a Marvel perspective.
But you think about, like, when we watched the Justice League, that movie was 100 miles an hour.
The entire
impossible to get any background into it. And the movie suffered because of it. Some people like the speed to get to the point, but to me, some of those things were just so fast tracked. You're like, I felt like the movie was on fast forward in parts.
They acted like they were Marvel, where they already had 7 solo movies before they came together.
And you had 2 characters that had zero background, and you just threw them together. You know, it was like, all right, we stuck to the wall. Let's move on. You know, so. But back to Walking Dead. You know, Maggie and them like that. So then you're at the wall, and Maggie sees this crate with like a...
Well, she's talking to Rosita on this wall and everything. And
you mean cyborg Rosita? Mrs. I can't mow facial expression when we speak, and
I don't know what
you
they're
off
doing.
And
just like agreeing, because she's like, you know, it'll be even harder when Negan's not here because of all the silence and stuff. So she's like saying, this is how I feel. Like, we're going to struggle once we don't have Negan as a goal. And Maggie's like, not for me, it won't. And because Maggie went cyborg too in this moment.
Yeah, well, she just looked like she was firm in her conviction. Yeah. Rosita...
and then Rosita just bounces.
Yeah. I was just praying that they were going to look through binoculars, and then you're going to see that binocular explode and her back of her head.
Saving Private Ryan moment. Just boom.
I would have stood up and gave this a 9 just to watch her die. Just her head to pop open like a canoe.
Just automatic 10, perfect episode.
Let Midge, or one of those twins that George is rocking with, drop her with a 308 round at distance. You know, then you're talking about a highlight. You know?
Yes. I mean, that's a death no one sees coming.
Why
everyone prays.
These major characters have to die where they can slowly die and tell everybody goodbye and stuff like that. No.
Not everyone needs
Make it shocking.
Yeah.
Literally her head pops off because of a shotgun blast. There's nothing but neck and blood everywhere, and they're like, oh my God, Rosita, and just keep moving on.
And you just get like a Maggie shock stunned face.
Yeah, really, and then move on. Don't shed a tear. Just who gives this, you know? There's something that's real, that somebody doesn't just take a shoulder wound and die slowly, or get bit, or, you know, or anything like that.
Or even that, like, we just get Maggie on the front line spraying everybody.
Yeah, you remember Noah? He's at the door, and they started chewing him and tearing him in pieces, this, that, or so on. And that's one of the best and most shocking deaths ever. It's like
I think that's still the number one death for me. Like, how he died, because like it was like the brief second of, oh no, I'm dead, then pop, head explodes.
Think about the best deaths we've had in the last 2 or 3 seasons. Instant... Holy crap, I didn't even have a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Think about Denise. Arrow through the eye, like, fall to her death. Dead fish forced to the ground. And everybody's in awe.
And, like, before you have time to react and everything, Dwight and everyone starts coming out, and then it's like, we got to move.
Exactly. That is realism, people. People aren't just wounded and die slow, horrible deaths, or they get cuddled around everybody around them, and it's just...
This is a war.
Exactly. Guess what? T-Dog was going down there and got his throat torn out. Guess what? Lori's only talking to one person. Bang! Carl doing his business. You know what I mean?
Like, that was the thing. Like, when you saw 2 characters alone, you started getting a little worried that somebody was going to die.
Right.
Here, we have 2 characters alone. Oh, they're both safe and everything. How are we going to get out of this? Like,
I think that's where The Walking Dead is misfired. They feel like you got to give these people their moment.
No, like
you don't.
Their bank account is fine. Like, they don't need any moments or anything.
You know, even though I thought his death was such, you know, I wish there could have been more. They made it good because he got bit, or so on. And then the van's driving away, and they just get out, and they're kicking it, and so you can feel the emotion. And then they have to bury him and stuff like that. There was no, you're going to be all right, and they're holding his hand when he turns gray, and, you know, all that stuff like that. No. It was something that you weren't expecting. It was something that happened, and it became real. You know, and that's what we don't have with these episodes. People who are dying. I mean, think about what Spencer, you know, he's over there and he cuts his gut open and he, you know, lays his guts everywhere. It was more about shock value than it was realism.
The bad part was even when we have the realism killed, they just messed it up with the doctor last week. Like, if they would have just shot that correctly, I think it would have worked. And we
couldn't even tell what happened. He just magically happened to bullet hole in him.
Yeah, and like here, our only logical thing was just to have him grab as he's looking at the person, shoot him in the face. It's like,
All right, so let's get back to it. We got the crates out there, random.
Like
Maggie's looking at them and studying them, like, and so
I think they have like a Kroger bag or something floating on top of the milk crate and everything.
So Rosita goes out there, grabs the crates, and brings back this note, and it's like, you know, the deals for. Fill the crates with food and, you know, music.
No spoken word. Like, so by spoken word, does that mean like they don't want lyrics and stuff, like a Beatles record? Or is it like...
That's what I understood. I think it's just, you know, like...
They want soft Yaz.
Non-vocal.
They want the Yaz flute and things like that. A little bit of violin. Like, this is the apocalypse.
I don't get it. I don't... So this leads into the, you know, the coordinates that go to this stop. Okay, so this van, this super jacked up,
I want this
mud tire van. I loved it. I thought it was kind of cool. It was a trip, you know. And then you meet Georgie. She's got a suit on with glasses and so on. This makes me think of a future character.
Yes,
very much so. I'm not going to give you details of that. If you're a comic book reader, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not a comic book reader, we'll probably do a future cast of what the comic tells us because it's supposed to happen next season. If it's supposed to be that. But in my distance, this is a very distant future character.
Okay.
Not somebody who would be in next season at all.
Well, with the way that they're trying to push things, they might just cut a few things out and just combine it.
It's very possible. Very, very, very possible. I'm not sure.
Because, I mean, killing Carl does change a little bit of everything, so...
It does. It does. It really, really does. It's going to change the dynamic of a lot of really, really good storyline the comic book had. Again, that's why Gimple can sit on it and rotate for all I care.
But okay,
anyway,
my first thought is just saw it a little bit on Twitter and stuff. If you see somebody wearing a suit in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, probably not the most trustworthy person.
All right, let's look at the setup here. We're at a 4-way crossroad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the van is there, they are there, and Georgie is, you know, the twins. You know these were twins, right?
Yes.
Okay. They both look absolutely effing ridiculous.
I loved them. Like, I mean, they look ridiculous.
They both look almost blue blocker with sunglasses on. They can't hardly speak, you know, that makes any sense. There's just the morale and their demeanor and everything was so random compared to what this looks to be an astute, intelligent female that they just don't look like they've survived for multiple years.
No,
what they said they're doing.
I've got to believe that the twins are pulling a hoax or something. They're completely dumbing themselves down because
I agree.
If they really are they're an entire box of nails short.
To me, this entire thing is a scout and this is a test.
Yes.
This is you find communities and you find out whether or not what type of people and what type of communities they are, and this is for something much larger.
Like, this is almost like a reverse Negan. Instead of you going out and filling everything for me, I'm going to let you build everything up, and I'm coming back and taking this later.
That, or, you find the groups that share the same common interest to create a larger network while avoiding the bad ones. And if you're a part of a larger network, you can weed out the bad ones in other ways. There's a couple different ways to look at it. But to me, what they're doing, the way she's dressed, what's going on, the situation, to come in with Negan's, there's something very fishy about her weaseling around with Negan still going on. There's something amiss. I don't know exactly what it is, but that's what's intriguing about it, so I enjoy that. But
would you have met her? If you're Maggie in this situation?
Yeah. Now, that's the whole thing. This is the part that I struggle with, is that, okay, so you give us coordinates and you're there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're this far in the world, you don't just hope and pray.
No.
Most people would come up to you and just, okay, there's a van, there might be people, bang, bang, bang. There's 3 bodies, take the van, there's goods
We'll ask questions later.
Yeah, move on. I'm going to listen to you until I feel like anything. No, I'm not making no deal with you.
I thought what
all right, so the twins were there, and Georgie's there. How did Rosita and all them get around the place to be able to be a part of an ambush? How did the crates get put out there without anybody noticing when there's supposed to be people on watch at all times?
There's a lot wrong, because we have no indication that our group left early to scout ahead or anything.
Correct.
There wasn't another vehicle down the road or anything like we said.
No.
And so,
I'm sorry, Rosita's not a mercenary, or she's not tactical. She's not a freaking Jake, Ninja Gaiden going on. I guess
she's not Lara Croft Tomb Raider. She's none of these things.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just, I love the intrigue they were trying to go with, but some of the foolishness of the characters, some of the way they looked, it didn't match what I think they were trying to create.
Exactly. I mean, we have no problem if that's Abraham, the military guy who can get around, do all this stuff. But when it's just passed on to Rosita just because she has the military look and everything.
Yeah, it just didn't carry water. And then the other part of this too is that it was so heavy-handed with the whole bring them back. We need to use their food. No, we need to oblige the deal because we're good people. Yeah. And so when she does give her stuff, they're like, well, just go ahead and keep the food. We want the records. Just a sign of good faith and trust. Da, da, da. It was just so heavy-handed. That's the dumbest decision ever, in my opinion, to not take the food when you have people literally starving around you.
Yeah.
And so for you to say you can take it with you and here's our deal and for just
not
knowledge.
Not even that. It's just you did the right thing and kidnapped. Well, kind of, because you have people that you already can't feed in prisoners and you want to add 3 more.
Yeah,
it's you either have to just kill them and take the food straight up or make the deal.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you look at those people and go, I want to make this deal. But I have people starving around here.
Yeah.
And so my choice is made for me. Here's records. It's the best I can do for you. I can gladly send you on your way. And if things change, please come back and I'll feed you. You can alter it.
Yeah. You can compromise and negotiate.
We're just going to be good people
and give you
and starve to give you what you want. Only to turn around and say, here's a book on how you do everything.
Which
is another giant foreshadowing for the future storyline.
But it's also Maggie should know how to do a lot of this since she grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere.
I agree. But that's the other thing is that this book she hands her, this is like the anti-BleedTV book. Because we would be calling BS on 90% of things they create and do if there wasn't somebody who just suddenly had great experience or figured this out or like that and so on.
Which also,
for what's a future storyline is supposed to be like.
You're telling me someone has the common knowledge of building a windmill and is going to be able to tell you how to create it in a post-apocalyptic world and then harness that energy? Bravo.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what that book was. It was anti-BleedTV, rip your ass a new one. That's what the book should have said.
I think that was the cover of it. Actually, it was just
it was actually on the inside introduction.
Yeah,
in an effort to prevent BleedTV from chewing our ass about every little detail that's non-plausible, you've put this book in place.
Beforehand. Just right. So that they do not have a case against us.
Exactly. So I just want to get away from the Hilltop. So let's get over, and so let's just get to the meat and potatoes, okay? Simon and Dwight, Simon's heavy-handed on the whole, hey, you need to ride with me, this is what the boss man wants us to, and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, there was a little cheese there, but you got to get them in the truck together.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed it just because he was like, the boss man wants it. I don't even know why we're still jibber-jabbering about it. It's exactly. Like, Simon, you're the only person that's talked this whole time.
And in the conversation in the truck is cool, too. He's like, let's get candid. Let's rap some. Let's da-da-da-da-da, and he's like, I'm not paid to think. And, and I get that. And I, he let me have my balls hanging out here in the breeze. And, so there are some.
He got me with my pants down, balls hanging in the breeze, and
exactly. I was like, so there's some good stuff, and they debate the whole situation. And I think Simon's got great points of, these people aren't going to give up. These are, they're fighters, and sometimes you just got to let it go and let them be. And we got other things that we can be doing. And Simon makes me believe that there's other communities they have a affection with that we just don't know about.
Well, because, I mean, Simon was
you're giving up.
That was my problem, is because I felt like Simon was talking about he just wanted to move essentially states and everything, and I'm just like, Simon, I don't think you're comprehending how much y'all don't know how to do, because all of these communities are always bringing food to you. So if you think you're just going to walk into like another group and have the numbers advantage, I think you could be wrong, and this is very dangerous. And that's what Negan understands that Simon isn't getting.
Yeah.
But Simon's making great points because Rick is the show and everything, and Correct. You're not going to be able to make him bow.
Correct. There's no doubt. So Chuck's moving along. Of course, Negan's riding solo after they've got all their blood and guts. Now, my boy Brian, they were at the compound, and they're cutting these walkers up and stuff like that or so on. And I went back, and he sent me a message not long ago. And I went back and checked like that. There is a walker that Simon literally, he cuts the gut open and he's getting all the guts and like that. The walker looks amazing, like how disgusting it is and, old and.
Which how dark they made the blood and everything. Right, I really appreciated.
But the hands were in perfect condition.
Really?
Yeah, they misfired on one of them. I guess they forgot that somebody,
guys.
Good catch.
We just need a continuity director.
That's and then I was really curious about the whole bucket of goo and Negan's bat in it. Don't see him being a person that goes in there hand-to-hand combat to even hit people to cause this. To me, I was like, okay, we're supposed to go into this, like they're going to fling this stuff over the wall. Maybe you can hit people with a few arrows that are at the gate.
When Eugene was talking about it, he's going Trebuchet style with it and everything.
Yeah. So I'm very...
But, it just kind of goes back to, like, he's talking about it, like, as soon as it touches you, enters the system, anything, you're essentially dead. And you're going to ride with a bucket of that beside you?
I just thought it was very...
And like you said, like that's where you're going to keep Lucille? Like, it's like...
I don't know. It just didn't quite match up for what I thought of.
It's like you're trying to polish her up, with it.
Another thing is, too, is that did you notice that... okay, so if you remember the compound, there was 1,000 walkers out there, say 500. You wasted a ton of ammo to create an alley for them to get out of that place, this and so on, right? Did you notice when they were back out there wasn't a walker on the ground anywhere? And there was just a few on a fence? The place was pristine.
It was clean.
There was no war zone. There weren't bullet holes anywhere. You didn't see broken windows. You didn't see nothing. These cars were in great shape. There was no issues there. Where in the F were these cars?
Yeah, the caravan.
Where does Dodge Charger come from? Where did all these stuff like that or so on? I mean, they had this place surrounded, and there was nothing. This is where that continuity just blows my mind. So we're driving along. Negan's by himself in a car. Have you yet to ever see the man travel alone in a vehicle? No. He's always route passenger. He's never driven himself anywhere that I can remember.
I'm not even sure if Negan remembers how to drive.
So randomly, he's the last guy in a caravan. Another heavy-handed situation.
Yep. In the nice little muscle car and everything, driving well.
Exactly. So Rick and Daryl, earlier, they're like, we could probably cover more ground if we separate. Of course you need to be separated so that, of course, you wouldn't be talked out of going down there and doing this by yourself. Or, or doing it with a partner, this or so on. So, again, that's just something like Rick and them going, we need to go out there and look and this or so on. You do that last episode.
Yeah, not this one.
Then when this one's coming along, it looks like that this is not, you didn't set it up in the exact same episode for a situation to happen. It's too easy. It's too quick and easy. And so, again, he sees it, changes his mind about hitting the horn, and goes down there.
It's like riddle me this.
Again, we're going through this town.
Mm-hmm.
What town?
Like,
since when have we had to go through an effing town to go anywhere?
Well, not only that, and the convenience of like a medical store. Like, this is a town that hasn't been completely ravished.
I was like, we have never seen
this place. And
where did this come from?
We're bouncing around in between roads that have to be traveled.
Savior Compound and Hilltop. We have seen them travel back and forth from these locations numerous times in the season and a half. And we've never had to see them go through a gosh damn town. And I got news for you. Going through the town is not going to help you sneak up on the hilltop.
No.
They're in bumfuck nowhere. Again.
With a height advantage.
You know what this was? This was purely to have a set change, a scene change, a different location for effect. Doesn't matter how in the F we got there. A simple line in the beginning of, we're going to take a new route.
Yeah. We have all these blockades.
And check in on Eugene to get more ammo. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
We could have simply just made it Eugene's town because we've already been there through.
Give us some fucking causation of why we went where we are instead of, holy crap, this is a great place for Rick to line his Explorer up, drive down there as fast as he can, and perfectly hit Negan.
And for no one to hear or see this car
Nobody hears it. Simon sees it and smiles and keeps driving. There's just too many things that are worked in perfectly for Rick's favor.
And that's the only, Simon is the only reason for them to still be using this walkie-talkie frequency because they know Rick has a radio.
So that right there, so you hear this giant, destruction of two cars hitting each other, right? The whole 9 yards. Simon just pulls up a little bit and they look in the mirror and they're like, what is that?
And Dwight, of all people.
Dwight's like, huh? And the other cars are up forward just on the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's getting out. Nobody's checking on all that. And then so Negan just turns and starts flying and moving on. Nobody chases. Nobody does anything. I was like, what?
And it's like, I think that was Negan. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. He can handle himself. I'm like, what?
Like,
I mean, this is that stuff with like, the chances of Rick being in position to hit that car perfectly like he did.
None.
Very thin. The chances that people overlook it and play as dumb as they did.
Slim to none.
Very slim to none. Inconvenient that Simon just happened to be thinking this at the same time. And then we had the car chase. The Fast Five, the Furious, whatever you want to call it, at 27 miles an hour.
In a town that nobody knows.
Okay, this is the thing. They're in the car, and when you do that facial shot of them behind the wheel, and there's fear in Negan's eyes, and there's that determination in Rick's eyes, that's great. And then the very next cutscene is a black car going 20 miles an hour, weaving. You can't even do it fast.
No.
To even make it look like you're in trouble. And an Explorer 10 feet behind it, again, going 20-something miles an hour. I know there's tricks of the trade that make slow cars look like they're going fast.
They do not have these. Yeah, they do not have these tricks.
Every single time. Then it does a jump cut to an accident.
Never saw it, just car over, and then we have the gunfight.
But here's the problem. Simon's like, yeah, well, I'm sure he just knocked him right off the road, and da-da-da-da-da. How the fuck does he know that?
Yeah, how are you going to assume this, Simon? You just kept going. You stopped everybody.
All you saw was a collision. But now you're talking about, well, he's probably knocked him way off the road. He ain't far from here.
Excuse me?
What? Were you able? Did you use your canine hearing to be?
It was a radio. He must have just used the same radio.
Thumb on it. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh God, I flipped over. I'm on my side. I'm in trouble. Help me.
Lucille actually just landed on it perfectly, and everything kept it going.
Hogwash. So when I see this jump scene, I'm like, what the? So my first instinct is how cool this scene is set up is. There's broken glass. Mm-hmm. There's pieces of the car everywhere.
There's gasoline fire.
Gasoline stuff on the ground. There's skid marks. The car's on its side. Negan is the guy passes out so much.
Yes.
From the car accident.
And for being
Rick, dead center into a telephone pole.
This is something that they could have shot and just showed.
I don't know how. I would love to have seen this. Like how we got to this instead of doing this jump cut, because I don't know if you do that much damage going 27 miles an hour.
Hey,
anyway,
what's the police maneuver that it is?
You're talking about where they hit you in the back?
Yeah, hit the back and everything. Yeah. I mean, when you're doing that at 23 miles an hour, man.
Yeah, it's catastrophic. It's catastrophic. It's a mind roller. But so anyway, I love the scene. Okay, I love that the car's on the side. I love the damage and the carnage where Rick gets out, got an AK-47 ready, and he is pumping this car.
Full of lead.
And I'm thinking...
That must be steel enforced bottom of the car.
Bottom of that car was from a former mobster who did it in case of a car bomb. It's impossible for something to, go through it. And then he gets out of the car to get over by the hood, and he shoots and blows holes through this like
quarter-sized holes going through.
And I was like, thank you. Special effects team finally getting it right. That round, that AK-47 is going to blow holes through that car, through a human, through the bricks behind it.
Yeah.
It is a deadly, deadly weapon, and so on. My problem is that same thin metal that you're shooting through there is the same goddamn thin metal that you were shooting the car up a minute ago.
Negan was still inside.
Yeah, which would have made Negan and Lucille full of holes.
Yes. But the spark flying off was pretty cool. I know it's unrealistic, but...
don't give me one thing of reality and,
2 seconds later... Or 2 seconds before, we don't get the same reality.
I mean, it's like when I watch, Game of Thrones, and you get that Game of Throner when they just throw you that really good reality, and you're just you're pumped. Yeah, it's a throner. You know what I'm talking about. And Walking Dead is like, oh, we're about to have it, and limp.
Oh, it's
just right there, just. And of course he shoots this 30-round magazine into this car. To where he comes around, has a few rounds left, and Negan is running straight into the building. Not like he was diagonaling into it. Or
no zigzag, no S formation. He's going to this door.
His 3 or 4 feet to the left on the bricks. I'm like, give me a break. Now you're out of ammo.
And then he switch over to the Python, and he always shoots it after Negan has turned the corner.
Here's the other thing. So just like you said right there, Negan turns the corner, and 2 shots are shot into the wall after he's made the turn.
He's completely safe and everything. He's
out of view. Bang, bang. I'm like, motherfucker.
Okay.
I was just like...
But
why don't you just throw the gosh damn thing at him? You have a better chance of hitting me with it.
Maybe, it'll bounce off the wall or something.
Oh, my God. And then of course he comes up there, and as Negan is naked on the top of the stairs, click, 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 click.
But how about this hatchet throw?
Okay, so I thought the hatchet throw was money.
Legit. Double-handed.
However, this is what pissed me off. I thought he went up there and threw that thing at him. I thought it was ballsy to throw the hatchet at him in the first place, because then you ain't got nothing to defend yourself versus a bat.
But
covered in barbed wire.
I don't think that hatchet's really going to help against a bat when
Something's better than nothing.
True.
I think I had something extra, because the bottom line is, you throw that hatchet, you've put all your eggs in the basket.
Well, as soon as I throw the hatchet, I'm just walking backwards. Okay, Negan, I'll catch you later.
This is where I'm going to reload.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You can keep it. I'll be back.
So okay, all you got left now is pull your knife from your boot or whatever like that. So he throws it. Negan ducks down, and then the very next cut scene, he's taking a rail out and falling.
Yes, which makes no sense.
He ducked down to miss the hatchet, and the next scene showed him going through these rails did not match whatsoever.
No.
I rewound it 5 times. I told my wife, I was like, tell me if this makes sense. Watch how he ducks down. She's like, how did he end up with his back to the rail to fall through it? I was like, he's got to be doing Jackie Chan rolls on the ground. Or something. I'm like, the guy, again, another editing choice.
Snafu. That
just doesn't make sense. And the convenience of, he throw that hatchet and he misses. Negan becomes the ultimate upper hand.
Yeah.
A higher location, has a bat with barbed wire, and it's got the junk on it.
Yeah.
To me, Rick is in
dead.
real trouble.
Rick's done.
Yeah. Instead, it's, I dropped Lucille. And I grabbed the deal, and he's like, Lucille. Like calling for his bat, by the way. And
Rick's automatically got the upper hand because now Negan is hanging on by the grips of his finger. And I didn't even notice that the floor was missing or something somehow.
I noticed it because they showed it. That's why the reason he went upstairs. But of course, he drops into a completely pitch black has this artificial CG smoke.
Yes. Rising up
or
out
dust or whatever you want to call it. It was very CG. Okay, I got past it. And so Rick goes back downstairs and Negan, I know it's hard to make you feel like you're in pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
So you're shooting this to make it look like he's in pitch black, but you want to be able to see what's going on around him. Like he's shuffling around looking for Lucille and so on. So I get that's difficult. But of there's walkers down there. There's issues.
And lighting Lucille on fire, one of the best effects I've seen.
I really enjoyed that. I did. I thought it was cool that Rick found him. I thought it was cool that Rick used the lighter that he got from Glenn, found the room that had eaters on the sun. I think that, I thought all that was good. I also think that this is the largest basement in the United States of America.
Oh, man.
Because they're hollering at each other and can't tell where the other one is.
It was like playing Marco Polo down there.
It really was. Lucille. Rick, anyway. And they have some good, decent dialogue about, I see what you do to people in their deals. You killed everybody, at the
that was a big thing because Negan at this point in time did not know that Jadis had been 2-timed and everything.
Yeah.
And I was expecting Negan to get a little close with Rick there and just be like, hey, I have some issues that I need to start working through.
Yeah,
apparently.
but Rick ain't going to believe him.
No.
It's all about the upper hand. And, I love he prays the back. Look what I found. They're like that. Don't you touch her.
If you touch one power.
Yeah. So I liked all that.
What did you think about the deal? Negan.
Here's the deal. You be my janitor, bitch, and the rest of people will live the high life. But there you go.
I'm even willing to cut it down to 25%. That's Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and Christmas all rolled into one.
Cue the fist pump of like you're jerking off.
Yeah,
that's what that was. That's what you wanted to see Rick doing over. Like, you believe this guy? I mean, really? I just. It was more comical.
Oh, it was great. And just like his tones and everything, I was like, okay, this is the Negan that we want.
Right. Again, they can't find each other. Marco Polo is unsuccessful. Suddenly, Rick is starting to beat on a door. And then out of nowhere, Negan tackles him through it. I'm just like, what?
Like, this was Edge from wrestling and everything, or Goldberg. Just like I heard the theme music coming and everything. I know it. Bam, perfect spear.
I was just like, don't do that. Don't just tell me you jump out of the camera.
Well, and it's like not only that, it's just like Negan has never struck me as the person that's going to come and tackle somebody, through a door and stuff. Like, he's the weapon fighter.
Again. At any moment, did you feel fear that either one of these people were going to die?
No.
Did you feel at any moment either one were going to get hurt severely?
Not even close.
So when they're in this room full of walkers and you've got this flaming bat.
But at least they played it right, because what have we been asking them to do? Like, unless it's 100 walkers against a person, there's no reason to fear them. And they just went to town.
And they did. But again, it's so funny how an episode or two ago, that 4 or 5 walkers become a situation where you're life or death and they only eat for your face.
Mm-hmm.
Where here, you can just, do a forearm shiver to a couple of them and like you're completely in the clear. Neither one of them at any time had a fear of being surrounded.
Nope.
Or that there was one. I mean, like one time they went to bite one in the back of the neck and they just, threw him over the shoulder.
I mean, he fireman carried one.
Since when has the walker grabbed you first before he bit you? Since when? I'm just like,
and they always went for the face or neck area again.
I mean, it just is not. Stop trying to make us feel like, holy crap, he almost got bit.
Just let somebody get bit.
We're 8 seasons in, people. Rick is not going to get bit in the back and be the game over moment.
No.
I'm just putting it out there.
If it does, shame and bravo on you all rolled into one.
I'm sorry. So quit doing this.
Please.
For
us.
You're beating the viewer to death. It's like throwing sand in the eyeballs and drinking the water that's the only thing left to clean them. Stop it. It's ridiculous. Okay? I do love that they've had a flaming bat hitting walkers and so on, but quit
and
making
everything
it feel
catching
like
on
these people are
fire
in danger.
too.
Make it more about the fight.
Yeah,
make it more about plausibility and so on.
Just make it about like Rick and Negan ended up having to fight their way out of it.
Exactly.
It was with Father Gabriel. I mean, his unlucky thing, whatever, we would have lived with it. But no, they tried to have danger that no one was going to ever believe.
Right. Dwight and Simon are outside and they're having a casual conversation. This is where you get the infamous naked walker walking up was a female. She was so decayed in the body area, you couldn't even tell she had boobs or anything that would make you think, oh my God, she's naked on AMC. No.
Yeah, it was trying to hype something up that wasn't even a big deal.
It was another example of who gives a,
Yeah.
To me, that was a struggle. I'm just like,
so if you want to be controversial, just be controversial. Don't try to be like this
don't
fake.
Don't half-wit it on us like that. Whoop whoop. I don't get it. So we exchange who has the bats. We're fighting each other. Great choreograph on the fight scenes. I love all that stuff. I was good with all that. I really was. And then when they're closing in, Negan goes out the window. And then Rick goes to follow, and Negan just magically disappeared.
Has gone.
And Simon and Dwight are gone. The car is smoldering. I'm sorry. You just don't get this. You don't come out of a window.
3 seconds later?
And 3 seconds later are just completely gone. And not hear a car, not hear a vroom, not hear nothing. Another thing is you don't see him knocked out in the passenger seat again.
No.
What the where did that come from? You mean to tell me he ran around the corner and there was somebody waiting on him and hit him over the head and then put him in the car?
And was able to carry him or pick him up because of
it? Exactly. Nothing against Jadis, but that ain't happening.
No.
Trust me, a human body's dead weight
is
so heavy. And
it's so awkward. You're not.
Your only chance you can drag him. For him to be in this car, you put him in it and he's sleeping against the door frame. Absolutely not.
Which also, you're in a car and trying to get somebody into the lower gravity stuff is harder than getting them into a truck.
So let's just say that he did get into the car because you had a gun on him. You mean to tell me that you're going to hit him in the head and then when he comes back up and you hit him in the head again?
Yeah. But also, Negan's caravan is in this town. So...
Yeah, and then here's the next scene. You see her driving away and it's in a wooded street.
Yeah.
It's not even in the town. And he's got gray dust all over him and this and that. So, I mean, it just... How the fuck did she know to be there? And what are the odds she's right there to scoop him up?
And you don't have his hands bound or anything. You're just driving lean back with a gun on him.
Oh, this is the BS that kills The Walking Dead over and over and over again. It's this huge bridge. It's just so far. You just can't touch.
No.
It's just impossible. And I just can't fathom what in the Sam hell
is going on.
These people were thinking and doing. It just,
And then I guess the last bit we have is just Simon's Negan speech.
Yeah, for Negan.
So what do we do now without the big man? What do you mean? What's your name? Well, I'm Negan.
Yeah.
That's damn right you are. Yeah, I'm Negan. Gets them all convinced. And has them shouting. And he's like, look, guys, And I love Dwight's expressions and everything because he's slowly realizing what Simon's wanting to do. And he's getting a little conflicted because, everyone's about to have to die. And Simon's like, look, we've just got to eradicate the problem. They're not going to bow down, so instead of harming them, let's just kill them. Yeah. And after what he just did to Jadis' crew, I'm okay with it. Like, I was a little hesitant. Like, coming in before I talked to you, I didn't like the way Simon's character was being painted or anything. But you've explained it and broken it down well enough to where I can get behind a lot of things that Simon's been doing this episode.
Yeah.
And so
it's just such a struggle. I'm really concerned about. I know they're completely changing up the storyline and where they're going with this stuff. So it's very curious to see how this is going, especially since Negan's not even going to be at this place. So it's going to be a very interesting situation of how they're going to take the scenario that she's got him.
Well, her scenario, Jay's scenario, makes zero sense because there's no reason for her to know where Negan is.
Yeah.
There was no way for her to be able to kidnap him, get him separated or anything because she's not working with Rick because, he shot at her just to get her away and everything.
Right. I mean, and here's the other thing is that why are you taking this guy? Why don't you just grease him right there?
Yeah. Like, what is it?
What purpose serves for what you're doing? So that's an interesting question. Where are we going with this? Oh, I know, because you can't kill him like that like it would be in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to go show him something and give him an opportunity to change your mind or get the upper hand on you or do something of that nature. That's what you have to do.
Does Jay just die? That's the only thing I can figure.
I don't see her character moving on.
If she's lived past next episode, I'll be surprised. I mean, I know that she will and everything, but
I don't know if we actually see her. I don't know. I think it could be a lot about just the Hilltop battle and skirmish. I could be wrong. I'm just not real sure. I wouldn't surprise me if we get a little Aaron scenario. What's he doing or something of that nature. There's no telling. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I forgot Aaron was still around.
Yeah,
because we've still got to work so many more characters back into this, and we've only got 4 more episodes.
See, that was 12. That's correct.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they're going to do it. I'm still waiting on them to come back to greatness. It's just not feeling it. But it is what it is. Again, I thought the episode had a lot of great potential.
There's a lot of cool things mixed in it.
Shoot themselves in the damn foot all the time with this continuity bullcrap they can't keep right.
It's like perpetual blue balls, all throughout this episode and season so far.
It's like a little kid is kicking you under the table in the nuts just hard enough to make it hurt, but not bad enough for you to be on the floor going, "Holy God,
Yeah, just the same spot too, just like laser accuracy.
Yeah, and just. That's what it feels like. I feel like I can't stop the little toddler from kicking me in the nuts constantly while we're eating dinner table. That's what it feels like. I know that's an odd and random thing, but I can just tell you right now that's what,
That's what you're going through.
I'm serious. That's what it feels like to go through some of the episodes of Walking Dead. When you have characters you just absolutely love, and you love how the show had such great starts and beginnings and how things were going, and just all to say F you viewers and we're going to do what we want to do just to do something different and completely cannibalize the storyline to where you're just throwing your shoulders up and hoping you can figure out what and why and how characters are doing what they're doing is just asinine. But
next week on Depression Cures All.
Yeah, really.
My
exactly.
God. Like Dylan
drink. Gosh damn it. So it is what it is. I'm one of those guys. I'm a purist, and I'm a finisher. I started this stuff, and I'm a huge fan. Again, I'm not a fan of the writing and where they're going with this, but I'm still a huge fan of the characters they developed, even though they keep shatting on them. And I want to see things come to a conclusion that maybe I still have hope that there's going to be a shakeup and things are going to get where they need to be.
Well, I'm still watching. So, I mean, I guess that means there's a little bit of hope.
There you go.
You know, we have a chance because, like we said, there were still a lot of good things in this episode. And I know we kind of didn't make it seem like that, even though we did praise.
Well, again, that's what happens a lot of times when we talk about the episodes is that they have some good stuff, but then the writing, like blowing their toes off with the handgun of details. That's the whole deal. You got a great looking foot, and then you start walking, and then you start blowing your toes off one by one with the details. When you had this great looking foot, and you come back, you got nothing but a daggum nub on the end of your ankle. You know, or you ran out of ammo shooting yourself in the foot. It just that's The Walking Dead. They're
running with scissors, and then they're running with scissors in a minefield, and they just keep hitting on every single mine.
Yeah, that's the whole deal. If they ever stop and realize that they have really good people and has really good actors, and they actually come up with a cohesive.
Because I thought the acting in this episode again was phenomenal.
That matches the potential of reality. And that matches human emotion and actual human cognitive decisions in an emotional problem or state, you'd be surprised how much different this show could go back to its roots.
Like, especially
the moral dilemma could be a true moral dilemma instead of it's a moral dilemma this month and next month it's not.
Yeah, next month was just, we grew, we're out of it.
Like, it's not like you changed your underwear. You can't just change your morality. Like you do that. It just doesn't work that way.
But that's why I was okay with Enid, is just because...
Well, yeah, she's in an emotional state. I give her all that. I do. But, okay, Morgan's been in 5, evidently.
Yeah.
You know, Carol's been in 3 or 4 of them. You know, and they're not the Delta Force. Okay? I'm sorry. Enid killed somebody she thought was attacking Aaron while in the dark. 100% plausible. You or I could do the same thing in the same situation. It didn't require Delta Force tactics. Didn't require, cunning shooting around the hip, quick draw, you sliding over a car to pop some. None of that was necessary. And so on. So don't give me that one episode, which is 100% automatic and realistic and so on. And then give me the Delta Force kicking down, doors and knocking explosions in and dropping folks like they're hot. Don't. Stop it.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't. Susie Homemaker and an accountant don't grab M16s and assault guns and different things like that and mow down a room with 10 people at different targets.
But that was pretty cool.
Oh, cool for who?
Oh, come on. We're going to agree to disagree at this point.
If they go in there and there's 4 people in a small area, you can lay down fire. That looks realistic.
Yes.
You go back and watch any early 80s B-rate action movie. They kick the door down, their chest brazen with their chest hair sticking out, shooting 2 Uzis without aiming,
glistening off of everything.
Down. It's like watching Commando. One guy takes 150 folks out. Don't give me Carol and Morgan in biker
Rambo
soft gear broken down a door and taking folks out that was wide range. It's just no. If it was Chuck Norris and his chin going in there, sure.
If it was Sly with the bandana, his cliffhanger or any of that stuff.
Even the Expendables, which was comically bad. But even they got the action of realism when it comes to odds, when it comes to 1 versus 60 and different things. I mean, come on.
They did have that.
And those are supposedly professional mercenaries. So give me a break. It is what it is. Guys, I know we've said a lot of, harsh and BS or this, that, or whatever like that. Guys, please don't hesitate. If you listen in, I would love for you guys to converse with us. We get more and more all the time, people on Facebook and email, a lot of new emails. People who love to debate, or try to correct and this, that, or so on. And you know what? And these are people you end up making a lot of friends with.
Yes.
It's because I'll hear you out, and I'm not afraid to tell you I'd make a mistake. If you saw something I didn't, or if we missed something, or this, that, or so on, I encourage you. Hit us on an email. Hit us on the social media. Send us a message. befriend me on my title is Zach BleedTV. If you want to have a person to go to when it comes to this stuff, I do the posting through it or on our page. Don't hesitate.
That's why we do this.
We have a lot of conversation with people. Not everybody agrees with us. A lot of people, there's some diehard fans that think The Walking Dead is the best show on television, and I feel sorry for them. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that to be rude. I'm just saying that it's not.
Go watch Altered Carbon.
But it's never been a. I can sum it up, but tell me how many awards it's won, and then we compare it to another show.
Yeah, but it has been highly entertaining and great to watch.
There's a reason that it's one of the highest rated cable shows in America. I get it. Trust me, I'm one of the people who tunes in every week, and I don't miss it. I love it, and so on. I just wish it could be what it had the potential to be. It is what it is. But again, we're on Twitter, BleedTV Podcast.
Facebook, YouTube,
BleedTV. We're on YouTube. We're on
Spotify, but you can't really talk
tune in. We're on all those places if you want to listen in. If you're already listening, of course. And our Gmail, that's bleedtvpodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email. Man, trust me, you will get a reply. I make an effort. Cash makes an effort. We all do. We always answer our emails. We love to converse that way. Just keeping it real. Sometimes we get mail that's like, you guys effing beep, all that stuff. And I'm like, thanks for the email.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
You took time out of your day, to let us know that we suck and we're the worst podcasters in the world. So we appreciate it.
Some people come and say, hey, man, I never know those details. That's great. No, it is what it is. But yeah, I highly encourage you guys to do it. If you enjoy what we're talking about or you think we got something real, give us a positive review. It always helps. But other than that, guys, I'm going to call tonight.
Yep.
So this is BleedTV, and I'm Zach.
And I'm Cash.
And we'll see y'all next week.